Hey there, welcome to the channel. Today we will be doing another Kpop Demon Hunters one-shot explanation video, and this is part 2 of my Zoey Origins series, in which I discuss what Zoey's life might have been like before joining Huntrix. Now, the first part is already out and is on my page and discusses how Zoey dealt with bullying before joining Huntrix, as hinted at in several storyboard scenes that we have gotten the privilege to access, but this one delves into her family life and the situations that she had with her parents, which were hinted at in Golden, in which she talks about living between two lives, had to pick one of her sides, obviously hinting towards her Korean and American heritage and all of that stuff. So without further ado, let's get into this. Make sure to like if you enjoyed this type of content, and let's get into it once again. Now, starting off, this is probably one of my most proud one-shots that I've written so far for this page, and that's because I think I really do a good job of trying to show a character a sense of helplessness and how it might feel while your parents go through different issues, and how it might feel for controlling parents. And while I personally haven't experienced that, I really hope that I'm able to convey this message. So starting off, this takes directly after the one shot that I wrote previously. You can go check that out in the link in the description. But basically, it's Zoey as she walks away from school and she finally arrives towards her house. I wanted to create this big sense of melancholy and sadness in her, so I try to be as visual as possible in terms of how she's sad and how she's not feeling the best, especially with the generic idea of a rain cloud pouring over her head. That's just how most people like to visualize and create a scene that includes the feeling of sadness. So I have her arrive in her house, and I already hint towards how her parents are dealing with some divorce or some marital issues, and that's with her hearing clips and little bits of her dad talking on the phone to her, supposedly, I'm assuming, her mom, and how her dad doesn't want her to move to Korea, how she's doing fine in America, and she hears like little backs and forths. She only hears her dad's side, obviously, so she doesn't know what her mom's saying, but you can kind of insinuate it based off reading this part. Now, moving past that, I have and Zoey quickly feel this source of anger, or because in her dad's thing, and he mentions this part about how no, Zoey doesn't want to talk to you, and yes, I asked. Now, obviously he didn't, because if he did, I would have had more dialogue here, but he didn't. And I think this is one of the ways I communicate that controlling parents are affecting their children, in which he doesn't bother asking her whether or not she wanted to talk to her mom, and uses this as a way to communicate her spite. And this is one of the things I discuss, right? Right here, as like, did her opinion not matter? Why didn't her dad ask her? Or it's not like, why was he pushing on his hatred towards her mother onto her as well? Why didn't she why was he making it so that Zoey couldn't connect with her mother? Anyways, moving on to that, I have her slowly go up onto the stairs as the sound slowly drowns out beneath her and it slowly disappears. But I have this small paragraph showing how the issue was hard to ignore, and how every single one of and how this has been an issue ongoing for a good majority of her life. And moving from that, I also sort of insinuate how she's a very pleasing person, with how she always tried to make sure both of them were happy, but she can never really get it right, and I really wanted to hint towards different aspects of her within the film as well. Now, I continue to emphasize the idea of how some people just push their anger, their emotions, their feelings about other people onto others as well, which is very prevalent in, I'm assuming, divorce. If you have more information, I would love to learn. I want to make my stories as realistic as possible. But I have, following this, a very interesting scene that I'm quite proud of as well, and this is this small back and forth between Zoey's parent, or her dad, her dad, and her thoughts. So Zoe's dad's complaining on the phone towards her mom, and Zoe responds to these ideas with her thoughts as well. And I'll have it here. My thought process behind this was that I really wanted to emphasize the feeling of how she's not being heard by her parents, and how despite her answering, they can't hear her. So this is my way of visualizing that. You can check this out in your own time by reading the link in the description. But after that, I wanted to link towards the rest of the film and hinting towards the Sunlight Sisters, I think, which is the group that Celine and Rumi's mom were on before they ultimately broke up, hinting towards here, and how Zoe connected with the Sunlight Sisters, making this sort of a foreshadowing that she'd eventually join the protege group of the Sunlight Sisters, and I think is very, very amazing. And here I wanted to do a little bit of triumphantness, because this would be the end of my two-part series, and I kind of wanted to not end it on a sad note, although I was considering it. This is what I preferred instead, because the first part already ended on a low note. I want a second part to end on a higher note. So she slowly builds up this motivation, and she decides that she doesn't need other people to confirm. She knew that she would be able to one day write lyrics that would change the world, and she does, in the Kpop Demon Hunters world and our world. Now, this is a rather shorter one-shot than I usually do, but I am still open to recommendations on what other things you might want me to write a one-shot on. What other missing scenes do you feel aren't available? You can comment them down below. You can comment about other series I should check out as well to write one-shots on. But without further ado, make sure to subscribe if you enjoy this content, and make sure to like if you enjoyed this video specifically, and see you next week.